good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Well, it's back to work after the holidays, bank holidays, as it's called in some jurisdictions. Now, I think there's still meat on the bone, especially as yesterday we couldn't have a full program. You remember that we had to, go off and check out Governor Ambody, commissioning some of those roads. You've seen it in the news since then. So we're returning to the subject and the row over the federal government's looters list. Expectedly, there have been reactions, some saying that they shouldn't be on that list and all of that. But I think, when I get ahead of myself, Dr. Jide Johnson is here this morning, Deputy Provost, Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson, for coming on.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Uncle Yori.
And a return visit is Mr. Yemi Makwadero, strategy and governance expert. We were together yesterday. Thank you very much for coming again today.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Indeed. So, of course, we expect some reactions. In certain reactions, even if I say so, border on the comical. You've got some reactions purporting to now parody the minister's, address, including that they have their own, looters list. But from the very beginning, when the first 6 names were released, there was a howl of this list is by no means, the kind of list we were expecting. It's too small. And then the minister explained subsequently that it was a teaser. That was the tip of the iceberg, in case you didn't understand how these things go. Okay, let me start there with you, Jide. Now we have a list of somewhere around 29 names. The aspect that we looked at yesterday is that all of it seemed to be shrouded in almost like party politics. I mean, it was a proper list by constituted authority, but there was so much about PDP people in particular. Were there no other looters? Is the question that we sort of couldn't get our teeth into. But give me your thoughts on maybe the cautiousness of releasing so far only 29 names.
First, we have said it over and over on this program. The people managing the information aspect, the information management aspect of this governance cause a lot of things to question. They don't know how to manage public information. For example, when the first list was released, it said it was a teaser. Are they running an advertising campaign, trying to whet the appetite to inspire the curiosity of the people for them to learn more about what they want to do? So we must establish that fact that in managing information, this government has not really done well, either from the government point of view as regards FG, that happens to be the Minister of Information, or from the presidency, his 2 spokesperson, and then issues relating whether to his health, his travels, his visit, and the rest of it. They've not really managed that information very well, and that generates, every time they come out into the public domain to release one information, it always generates a roar. Now, coming to the issue of the of the list, I think that we should have gone beyond this page of the list. At least we should have gotten conviction as regards people that have stolen money, that have looted public funds, because
but this was like a progress report.
The centerpiece of this administration is to fight corruption. That's the centerpiece. That's the thematic element of the campaign. However, when the list was released, the first one was released on Friday, and the second Sunday, one over the weekend, you could see that it was below the expectation of what has been raised concerning the fight against corruption in the nation, and the narrowness of the list to a certain political lineage caused to question, are these people only responsible for the looting that has taken place in Nigeria since the advent of democratic experience? The time frame that was used was the last 4 years, 2011 to 2015. Now, what happens between 1999 and 2011? So you begin to ask a lot of questions. How holistic is this list? How thorough is this list? How comprehensive is this list in addressing the issue of looting and corruption, which has become endemic in Nigerian public service?
Well, Yemi, how about, I'm just now trying to think for, the Ministry of Information. They never sent me on such an errand. But what if it's something of a Apple computer has a smart folder? The contents of that folder, AKA the list, will be updating as we go along automatically as they clear and decide to put it into that folder. It was in that folder that there were 6 initially. There was an updating, it became another 23. I'm just looking at, maybe they were thinking of getting something of a progress report out, but because they were stating some monies that had been recovered, some people that were being prosecuted, this whole matter about not communicating with the public, could that be the reason for this, complete with, all the inadequacies as perceived by receivers of the information?
Well, thank you for playing the devil's advocate on this matter. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how close, no matter how friendly you are with people in government, or people in authority generally, one duty that we owe ourselves as people who are sincere, honest, who have integrity, is to speak truth to power. The scenario you just painted possibly will have been acceptable if you were talking about 3 months into the life of this administration. Now we're talking about almost 3 years down the line. So the updating cannot be something, certainly we cannot exhaust the list of, corrupt elements or those who at least have had one humongous amount or the other traced to them without supplying any kind of, or returning any kind of service, to the government or to the people. And no credible explanation. I was discussing after the program yesterday with someone, and I said how I wished that 6 months down the line in the life of this administration, there is this long list of people whose accounts have been linked with some, illicit transfers. To just come, please explain what services you render to government to get this kind of money, but not 3 years down the line. That is on the one side. On the other side, there is the issue of recovery of looted funds, and some humongous amounts have actually been recovered by this government. And I think that beyond the fact that a competent court of jurisdiction, a federal high court, ordered the federal government to release the names of those who have returned some amount or the other, including the amount they have returned. I think that list ought to be the one to pay attention to now, not those who are still alleged, to have stolen. And I do not think also that those who are already undergoing trial, that is already in the public domain anyway. There is no need mixing up this. So in a nutshell, no matter how you look at it, is it the timing, the components of the list, and the way and manner it was released calls to question, maybe not the intention, but the strategy, just like the Deputy Provost has said, the strategy of government in managing information. You see, like I said yesterday, you can't make PDP look worse than they already look. But what we will succeed in doing is to make APC look worse than people thought they were, or at least the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. And I'm saying this with every sense of responsibility and some level of pain also, that, unforced errors are being committed every now and then, by this government.
In terms of part of the problems, if that is the word, with the list, with people who have seen that list, and going by the comments that we've heard, is that it's nowhere near either representative of the actual problem or even pretending to be complete. I don't know, unless they're doing it in segments, there were not too many civil servants, on that particular list.
No, I raised that issue. And over time, we've trashed the issue of corruption on this program. And yesterday I was at home and I had cause to review some of the program we have done, not knowing that I'll be on set this morning. Over time, the Accountant General of the Federation, the Auditor General of the Federation, the Director of Treasury, the Permanent Secretary in those ministries that we have had cases. None has been taken to court. You see, first, let's establish this. It is the federal government that is fighting corruption. Mm-hmm. It is not APC.
Not APC.
APC is the platform through which the present government came to power. Now, it is the federal government led by Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, General Muhammad Buhari. Now, not APC. APC is the party. Now, when it comes, government does not know party. When it comes to fighting corruption, it is whoever has stolen public funds, whether you are in PDP, mm-hmm. you are in APC, you are in UPP, and even this list, if you look at it, it is related to campaign people that received money, one, from the National Security Advisor, mm-hmm. and service chiefs that spent money that are meant to fight insurgency in the northeast are service chiefs, members of PDP. No, you see, he's politicizing the military. That's why I said there's difference between governance and there's difference between partisanship. Now, this list could have been released by the National Publicity Secretary of the APC,
ruling party.
Or it wouldn't generate the kind of controversy. Mm-hmm. But the list was released by the Minister of Information of the federal government. Are you with me?
Yes, but that's supposed to be the highest level of information dissemination.
Information dissemination for the government.
For the government.
For the government. Yes. Now, when it talks about the government, it must be holistic. It must address everybody there are actors and players. We have established that over time. In Nigeria, there's no PDP, there's no APC. They are just the same. They change every electoral cycle.
APC is constantly disagreeing.
Every electoral cycle, you see people cross-carpeting from one party to another. Every electoral cycle, we have a new party that people will talk about. Some people have started talking about the third force. SDP has never gained prominence until he's gaining now. So the issue is the federal government that is fighting corruption. So it should address every sector, every strata. There's no civil servant. And how can you steal public money without a civil servant not being on it? Not even a single permanent secretary. Mm-hmm. Not even a single, it's on trial.
It's found to be complicit.
It's on trial.
Yeah.
The Accountant General, the Auditor General, not on trial. How can money leave public coffers without those checks and balances being aware of money leaving public coffers? And it calls to question the real fight against corruption.
Okay, what do you think, Yemi? Is this splitting hairs, of course being correct, but in terms of having a practical job to do, sometimes when you want to get too perfect, you could take forever and not achieve any results. Could one use that explanation as one of the reasons for skipping over some of those details?
No. If you pay attention to details, the opposite should actually be the outcome. That we should have a more all-encompassing list or no list at all.
Especially as they take their sweet time to come up with one in the first place.
Now, there is already a list that the government has containing those from whom monies have been recovered. That list is what
the court
and Nigerians, mm-hmm. civil society organizations are saying release. I understand without justifying why possibly that list is not being released. Mm. If that list is released, you will find people who were in PDP but who are now in APC or possibly who are even serving the government of the Federation today in one capacity or the other, who may also have quietly returned some money. So if such a list is presented, it may not be politically correct for the party that is in control of government at the federal level. We should not belabor that. However, the government
I think it would be politically correct, sir. It might not be politically doable.
Well, perhaps you have a point, because I was going to land by saying that government going ahead to actually publish this list, irrespective of who is included or who is involved, will actually have, conferred much more credibility on the government. So in other words, government actually stands to benefit more from opening up the list, being transparent with it.
Yes, if your speculation is accurate, and then two, if government then has the balls to go ahead and do it.
I think it's the balls that, that appears to be lacking.
The president promised to release the list more than a year ago.
Yeah, no. If you remember, Dr. Johnson, back in the day, within something like 6 months of the president be arriving in office, he had actually, threatened is not the word, he had stated that names would be named. But then subsequently there was an explanation as to why the names couldn't be named at this time as the president had wanted to, that there were so many legal implications, and so the idea was shelved till perhaps the more recent time you were talking about.
The expectation of Nigeria is that this list should be released. Anyone that has stolen public fund, you see,
that the list will be released, and then more importantly, sir, after releasing it, so now what? Now what?
You secure a judgment
what is it supposed to achieve?
The names on those lists that they can never occupy any public post in Nigeria or 1, 2, 3 generation or what have you.
Now all of that is part of the problem.
It talks about comprehensive fight against corruption. It is what has happened in the past that we are talking about. We don't even know what is happening presently because there's no systemic measure to address the issue of people just going into public coffers to take public funds. You see, because
well, there's probably a lot less of that going on now than used to be.
We don't
I'm
know.
just guessing.
But just like we were never aware during Jonathan's time, just like we were never aware during Yar'Adua's time, just like we were never aware during Abacha's time. We never know. It is the same civil service structure you have. It is the same financial procedure you have. There are no checks and balances.
But Dr. Johnson, this regime came on the platform of change, and that it wasn't going to be business as usual. So some of those things you said in there, Yemi, I suspect that they would have taken a stab at addressing them.
No, let me even chip in a word, with the issue of civil servants not being on the list. Civil servants are bureaucrats. They are extremely smart people. They know processes and procedures.
Smart or clever?
They're smart. Well, I don't mean it derogatively.
Okay.
Yeah, they're smart, they're clever. So let's use it interchangeably.
So clever is derogative?
No. Smart. You seem to be suggesting that using smart means, perhaps.
Well, yeah.
But these are people who have been trained. Before you become a deputy director in the Federal Civil Service, you must have been, look, forget the perception we have that civil servants are no good as. No, they are actually some of the best trained people we have, much more than you have, even in the private sector.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Now, they must have dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's. Theirs is to release money based on directives.
And I dare say
difficult.
Safely deliver money safely.
Yes.
Based on directives.
Yes. What they need to do is to have a document. Look at, the former Minister of Finance, Okonjo-Iweala, when all this furore about stolen monies, by the NSA came up, she released documents showing minutes.
That's right.
Memos sent to her. What she minuted back and what was minuted back to her.
Yes.
At that point, she was sufficiently covered to release whatever.
Because she was following legitimate instructions.
She had permanent secretaries and directors working with her. So they must have guided her appropriately. So it's really difficult to pinpoint most of these civil servants. Let's be clear about that. However, let's even leave them out of it. But then, if we are going to fight corruption holistically, there are also what we call lawful orders.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
There are lawful orders.
Yes.
If you don't have to obey all orders, even in the military. Now, but with respect to what is happening now, the currency that President Buhari gained was because of his avowed commitment to fight corruption. And sincerely, no matter how well-intentioned he is, people are not seeing that gusto,
For now.
in fighting.
One moment, please. Felix in Akure, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead, but you've got to distance yourself from your radio or TV, from your TV actually, or mute the volume of your TV.
Okay.
Right now, we can still hear you. Too close to your TV.
Okay.
Okay. Can you please mute the volume of your television set? Mute the volume.
I've reduced it. It's there, right?
Okay. Very, very shortly then, because there's interference. Go on. Speak, please.
Okay. Now, I just really want to say that it does not really matter whether the federal government have all the names of the people who have alleged stories. It's not possible for the government to get all the names of those who have been alleged to steal. Now, I think the problem should be to find out those who names on that list. Are they stolen really? That should be the first one. To say that the names of the looters or alleged looters in the APC, in the PDP, everywhere should be on the list. That it would be impossible. We have to go. Let those whose names are there prove their innocence. I mean, they are alleged promise to return some money. Actually, have returned some money. So let's go ahead. I found out this.
Okay.
Let them prove their innocence or go ahead to.
Sure. Thank you very much for calling in. Really appreciate your call, but there was this whining, thing going on.
I think I picked what he said. He said that we should start from somewhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they are in one party or the other. That
we
as
should
long
just
as they
start from
looted
somewhere.
the public fund, there is a sense in what he has said. No doubt about that. We are all interested in getting rid of corruption as much as possible in our public service.
As the president said, replacing corruption with correctness.
Exactly. So we are much more interested. And anyone that has stolen public fund should not return the money publicly. It should not return the money in secret. Let them return the money publicly and let them face the consequence. The challenges we are having is that they are returning money secretly. They stole money. They stole public money. If you steal public money, return the money publicly. And that's why people have been demanding for that list. I'm coming. Let me just tie it up.
Is that of plea bargaining, perhaps?
Whether plea bargain or no, but the money is taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
The money belongs to you. It belongs to him. It belongs to every one of us.
Yeah, but in order to get them to even agree to return it, they have to make some assurances, I imagine.
The issue on this particular list calls for one fundamental issue, which is campaign funding.
Yes.
Now, most of the people that are on this list collected money for electoral purposes. It is not even on projects, collected security money for electoral purposes. Collected money from the National Security Advisors. And that's why we saw on the list the names of former service chiefs on that list. We talked about what role does INEC play in campaign funding? What rules do we have in the amount of money that is spent for election in this country? These are some of the issues that we need to address outside of the publication of this list or non-publication of this, because there are deeper issues. Because it's just one. It's just one we have been looking at. Money collected from Dasuki.
Well, I don't know that the Ministry of Information typified it like that. They just said,
from the list. We have all of
okay, you've read the list.
From the list, okay. We know the people.
Mr. Lawale in Ikorodu, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, God bless you.
Thank you.
Let me quickly make a correction. It is not true that there was no permanent secretary on that list. Dr. Godno Igadi is a permanent secretary, and his name is on that list. Okay, that's number one. Civil servants are the vehicles through which politicians steal money. Okay, and in that process, they also help themselves. Most of the eyebrow buildings in Abuja are built by civil servants on level 10, level 12. Okay, so, but the list that have been released is a pity Lai Mohammed did not categorize it. There were some institutions in which their oxygen was corruption, like Nimasa. Then the military itself, they were stealing left, right, and center during the last regime. So he will have categorized it and not use only politicians. Only God will deliver Nigeria from the politicians who collect 30 million naira every month, and yet they are doing nothing. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawale Nikorodu. It was
What a fantastic contribution.
No, you know, starting somewhere is important, right? But there are certain things we expect at some level. You know, you do not expect a university undergraduate to start learning how to write the letters of the alphabet.
ABCD.
Now, corruption was reputed and still reputed to be the #1 bane of Nigeria. And so if corruption is that big, and we're having 29, a list of 29 in 2 batches, could it be that it's either we overhyped, you know, the prevalence of corruption, or something is just wrong? If corruption is that humongous in Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria, with
only 29 people.
Yeah, only 29. Only 29.
So far.
That
because
is
it looks like the ministry wants to make it some sort of a sequel.
But then the challenge I have is why government is doing this. Because they have the information.
And the resources.
The number of people they've recovered that EFCC has secured, you know, permanent forfeiture orders alone that are in the public domain exceeds this list.
So,
and those ones, you don't even stand any risk of being sub judice.
You're the security, you're the strategy expert. So what exactly is the purpose supposed to be? People have alleged when they called in yesterday that this is all about politics of 2019. Now, one can understand all of that, but that it was handled in this way, including the fact that it's a teaser, you know, the sequel, and now all sorts of comical responses are coming about. Yeah. In short, people on the list are now doing their best to discredit it by going into the, what is that, grotesque humor. They're not even penitent, as Lai Mohammed himself noted, and then referred it back to the so-called PDP apology. So it got mixed up horribly.
Look, Doctor already alluded to it. If the release of this list is handled by the party, by APC, it will be perfectly understood that this is another campaign to refresh Nigerians.
Memories.
The memory of Nigerians of the damage done to the economy by some people. And the piecemeal release will make certain people actually quiver and be waiting whether their names will come out in the next one. And that may possibly string them from aspiring for anything or for making any noise. If you flashed back your mind, 6 months into the presidency of President Buhari, most of the characters that are now very bold to speak now all went into hiding.
Into their shell.
In fact, at that time, the president could have succeeded and gone away with Blue Mother. Because at that time, the momentum was on his side. And nobody was going to even mention the rule of law at that time. But what did they see? After some time, they found out that, and those who are even abroad, started filing cases in Nigeria. Please tell them to send me to extradite me. Because they saw that those who didn't run away are actually coming to visit them and attending parties and the rest. And nothing is happening. So those who actually ran away regret their action today, if truth must be told. Did any filed a case in court in Nigeria here? Please tell the British government to extradite me back to Nigeria. I have cases to answer in Nigeria. Because there is that perception that she would actually be able to get away.
Judy, I'm going to get your comment on this whole matter about the proximity of this list to release, the proximity of the releasing of this list to the 2019 election process. But I got to go on a break first, and then as soon as we come back, we'll look at that. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll continue to take your calls. Welcome back. Then we're looking at the alleged looters list released by the federal government through the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed. And the controversy that it has generated, naturally people are reacting, very varied colors of reaction. But we're looking at what exactly is the desire, of the federal government, the Minister of Information. What is their desire for us, the public, with the release of this list? What is the objective? I think strategic people have objectives, and so they do things in order to achieve certain objectives. So what exactly, now that they have done this, what would you guess is the objective of the federal government in releasing
probably, like
this
he
list?
said before we go on break, that to refresh our memory, that some people have stolen money from this country, and they've looted public funds, and we have identified them, and they have returned the fund, and we have, but we have not done anything with them. They are free.
Would you think all of this is pursuant to the fight against corruption, or is it more towards, or is it more towards 2019 is just around the corner?
I have established this over time, and they are in public domain. We are not fighting corruption. You require a system, a structure to fight corruption. The same way we have been releasing money since 1999 is the same way we have been releasing money. Just 2 weeks ago, last week, the head of what's the federal allocation, what have you said, they don't know that the senators are collecting 13.5 million. It's the same structure. It's the same way. It's the same way that you had money,
Sorry.
You had money in Osborne, in Ikoyi. It's the same way somebody cut grass, allocated a contract by virtue of his position to cut grass. It's the same way somebody took money from that is meant for the IDP camp for himself. So when we say,
it's still business as usual.
Exactly, because there's no system, there's no law, there's no system, there's no structure to fight corruption.
One moment, please. I've got to bring in Olushola in the UK. Good morning, Olushola.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yeah, I've been trying over 6 months to get to this program.
Wow.
And I'm very happy this morning.
Today is the day.
I can get in.
Today is
I'm
the
very
day.
happy.
Indeed. Welcome.
You guys are doing a wonderful job. I can't afford to miss this program every day.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yes. Uncle Yori, regarding the list that the federal government just released, as a person, I'm so much disappointed in federal government. And now, why now? after 3 years. I think this list should have been released a long time ago, not now that we are approaching election. And another thing is, this thing is just like trying to cover and excuses, because we voted for Buhari just because we know there's a lot of challenges, problems in Nigeria, and they are calling change. We voted for them for changes. Now, excuses. I think the excuses is not acceptable for me. It's not really acceptable.
All right, then.
We know the country is in danger. We called you to come and rescue us, and you are not telling us what we already know.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Olushola, for calling in.
I was going to respond to what Jide said,
Okay.
but he seemed to, the speaker also seemed to have,
Just part of that.
traveled on that same trajectory. And honestly, that is really unfortunate for this administration. Because see, when people look at, I look at a lot of things that are actually going on in this administration, positive, in the area of economy, that we are even seeing the result. People say he's not putting food on my table. Yes, I can't argue about that. But you need to, there are certain things that you will see that will tell you that, yes, you are right on the right track. But the Fox part, the damage that miscommunication has caused
Because
this
I was going to come
administration.
there.
I said it, that look, there is a
how much
lot
of a help-
positives. There are a lot of positives.
How much of a
going on.
help to the war against corruption has the release of this list been?
Now, the fight against corruption actually is real. Whether the strategy is holistic is another issue. And by my assessment, it is not strategic, let alone being holistic. But there is an idea of what we want to do. We want to stop people pilfering public funds. So it is also true that if you ask civil servants today, they will tell you things have changed dramatically. Monies don't fly around anymore. The reason why 5 years ago, people were not clamoring for increase in wages was because even the salaries were never touched.
It was like an allowance.
Yes.
Because the salaries were like an allowance. And that is why we are crying now.
Yes.
I tell people, we are really not crying because we are hungry, but most of us are crying because our, taste buds,
Yes. Yes.
are not being satisfied
Yes.
anymore.
Yes.
Somebody called
They-
yesterday and said, how many people killed goat this last Easter? Most you, where Easter emanated from, do they even kill goats?
Exactly.
Despite the fact that they are economically, more advanced
So
than us.
the taps have run dry,
The taps-
and
ask a
that is a
typical civil
positive.
servant, they will tell you.
Mr. George, thank you very much for holding on. Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yari, good morning, and good morning to the panel.
Good morning.
Uncle Yari, kindly permit me to disagree with the argument of Dr. Johnson. If a thief is caught and he says he's not the only thief, there are other thieves, does that mean that he did not steal? Must you arrest all the armed robbers in Nigeria before you prosecute the armed robber that has been caught? It doesn't make sense. All these arguments that people are putting forward, why is the other person not yet caught? That energy should have been used to defend yourself as to whether you actually committed that offense that is being alleged or not.
Okay. Mr. George, you're referring to 29 names so far,
Yes.
and people complaining that of all the possible suspects in Nigeria, 29 names?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so if there are 1 million people on that list and you catch only one, must the 1 million people be brought to book before you deal with that one that you have been able to catch? Do you know what it takes to catch a thief? If one thief is caught, you deal with that one until you are able to catch a second one. Each person has his own time.
Okay.
And, politicians all over the world, not only in Nigeria, they use the arsenals in their, at their disposal to shoot down the opponent. That's what election, that's what politics is all about. So the question of saying this list was published so that when elections come, the other person will not be popular before the voters. If you know you have something to hide, why are you coming to seek for public office?
Okay. So
because you know one day your secrets will be made known. A public officer hasn't any information to hide from the public. This is the way I see it.
Okay, as to why there are no public officers on that list.
There are public officers. What I mean is those that have been published.
Civil servants, I meant to say.
Civil servants that are, the list includes some civil servants. I looked at it.
Yes, one palm sec.
There is a level 16 officer. There is another one palm sec on the list. But
okay.
Even if they were not there, Uncle Yori, those ones that are linked to Colonel Dasuki that took money from him, they are not saying they did not take the money. What kind of a country is this? They are saying that they are not
only
really
Fani Kawade.
money.
Fani Kawade is saying no, it was not.
That he took 840 million.
Yes, but it wasn't public money.
Well, it wasn't public money. Which one is it?
He said it was just for the election campaign of President Jonathan, and he has spent it on that. He has spent 800 million on that. People should stop bringing up old history.
Sorry to interrupt you. That 800 million, is it from President Jonathan's personal account? It's from the money that belongs to Nigeria. What is he talking about?
Okay.
It's because we have a judiciary that is not yet fully cooperating with the government in the fight against corruption. Okay. All these people should have been cooling off at Kirikiri by now, instead of coming to make noise in public.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Sure.
Nobody, not even a single person occupying any elective post today can say without fear or favor, or can swear with whatever he's worshiping, that they did not use public money to support his campaign. None, not a single one. And that talks about the issue I raised concerning campaign funding, the role that INEC needs to play. If we investigate the sources.
But that was a very powerful statement you made, though. You said nobody.
Not a single person.
Not one.
Single campaign fund. They use public fund to run public elections. That's the reality. Is the reality of our election.
Are you talking about, what do they call these people? Incumbents? Are you talking about incumbents or aspirants?
Whether incumbent or aspirant, at the national level, if you look at the resources, let's just do a mere estimate of the posters, of the adverts alone, the posters, the radio jingles, the adverts, it runs into billions of naira. Where did the money come from?
And that's even the...
And that talks about, that's why I said there are deeper issues than this list. We need to look at, nobody's even looking at NNPC. We're only looking at the issue of NSA, the funds that was released by the NSA for the last election. Just one aspect.
Okay, Yemi, I see you want to get in on this.
Yes. Now, you see, I understand what Jide is talking about. I also understand what George is saying. Now, the two can go hand in hand. Look, if you have a long journey, a long tortuous journey, you can actually collapse that journey by taking certain strategic decisions and steps. And one of the greatest steps that an incumbent government can take is to use one of its own as an example. And then if all this noise about, in fact, okay, Circus APC is on trial, right? But people will colorate that also. They will say it's because he's not in the camp of the president and the rest of it. But when the issue of Babachir Lawal came up, it was treated with dispatch. Sincerely, we've not really had serious scandals, in this government, at least that is publicly known. Unlike then when it was like one per week. But even the ones that are in the public domain, especially for political appointees that you can hire and fire without giving reasons. You didn't need to prove that somebody has actually committed this offense as a president before you remove such a person, because he has already put a stain on your linen. So the prevarication of the president and the uncoordinated way that information is communicated in this administration.
So
it's
you're
causing
really
a lot of harm.
You're really both you gentlemen seem to be criticizing the
Information
information management of
strategy.
this. Oh dear. Mr. John Amadi in Jalingo, good morning, and thank you for holding on.
Thank you, Uncle Yori. I just want to contribute to these things like this. Mr. George, I just want to puncture what he said about not putting everybody in trial at one time. You understand? Mr. Yori, we understood that you cannot put everybody on trial at the same time. But what we are saying is that something has to be holistic. It shouldn't be seen as if it is one-sided, for God's sake. Just like your panelists have said that this government the mantra is this corruption of a thing. But we have not seen it happening. You look at it, most of these people in his cabinet, they must have been assigned to one corrupt practice or the other. But the president seems to have a deaf ear towards that. For what reason, I do not seem to know again, because as the president, people see him as upright, as courageous person. But unfortunately, he is now being called into not even firing people that he has even hired. For God's sake, where are we heading to?
Okay.
So this list, actually, every reasonable Nigerian will see that it is just a political list. It is not meant for fighting corruption. It's just to mark a particular party. For God's sake, we should be up and doing in this country.
Right,
and put all sorts of sentiments aside if we want to move forward as a nation.
All right, then.
Because this nation, there is no government that will come without any problem. Mr. Yori, let me tell you, if this government does not succeed in 2019, the revelations that will come will marvel you.
Yeah, but Mr. Madi, when you called this list released by the Minister of Information a political list, the politically motivated list, that's not going to make him very happy at all. He's probably going to be saying that here we are trying to do a job of communicating. Now we communicate such as we have to you, and you're calling it political.
Yeah, it is, Mr. Yori, it is political because if you look at the list, what does it mean that there is nobody in APC that has looted this nation? Let's be sincere to ourselves. Let's call a spade so that we will move forward in this nation for once.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Amadi. Thank you. I appreciate your calling in. So, okay, Judy.
You see, like he said, from picking up from where he stopped, it's about a strategy of communicating. Why do you think that multinational corporations spend huge amount of money on their corporate communications? Why do they hire experts?
Because they have to get it right.
You see, things
they have to get it right.
You like it or not, whether with the human system or
and
the spiritual system or political system or economic, things will always go wrong. How do you respond to things when they go wrong is just a function of communication. And this administration seems not to have a communication strategy. Every attempt they have made to communicate always end up in a tragedy. Now, if you don't have a strategy, you end up in tragedy. So we have been seeing one tragedy or the other over issues that government should have scored political points with the people. Because this government succeeded in coming to power through public goodwill. It was goodwill. And to earn it is easy. To lose it and gain it back is very difficult.
I mean, where Jide went there, he spoke about why do you think corporate organizations spend an arm and a leg on their communication strategy? It's what the whole marketing universe, the whole advertising universe, indeed PR universe is based on. Communication is a highly specialized skill. It costs money because you get it wrong and quite frankly, you've messed up your whole objective. Now, Jide has gone as far as saying that as a Nigerian that have been watching our communication over the decades, Jide can speak as an expert and say that he cannot discern any strategy at all, any communication strategy. Now, no advertising product. No corporate organization can afford to be rolling without a communication strategy. Do you share Jide's thought that?
I just don't share it. I strongly share it.
Oh dear.
And
that you can't see a communication strategy. It means people are just talking anyhow.
In 2015, after this government took over power, a newspaper editor, former newspaper editor, I won't mention his name here, called me and said, because of your closeness to certain people, I suspect that they may abandon social media after this election. But I can tell you categorically that there is a party that has rented, a 3-story apartment in Abuja, and they have over 500 young people there with smartphones, and all they are going to be doing is sending all manners of, information, factual, non-factual, to, discredit,
disparage.
Government. Now, the APC spends so much effort and time on social media for the 2015 election.
Yeah, but doing what on it?
But after the election,
they
abandoned it. And things are more difficult today to pass across information than they were 10 years ago. How many people have power to even watch network news? If they put in 2 liters into their generator, they want to quickly watch some movies they've accumulated, they want to return to the owners. And so they rely heavily on unofficial media sources. So that you say something on NTA, for instance, it's not going to be sufficient.
You've got to back that up.
So it's even more difficult now to communicate as a government than it was 10 years ago.
And it's probably going to be even more so if you're lacking in a strategy. You won't know where to put your resources. If you don't understand the environment, how do you get the right strategy? Mazi Okorafor, thank you very much for holding on, sir. Mazi Okorafor in Arochukwu.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in this studio. Honestly, I want to find out from our guests, even you, sir, Jerry. All this our limited money we are talking about with the list, with the elongation of those lists. When are we expecting this money to come in? Because I'm asking this question. Because like the deputy provost, at least he can bear me witness. If you check all the universities we have in this country, 80% of Nigerian universities, they don't have hostels, they don't have lecture rooms. And the federal government told us that money we're giving to people. At least the deputy provost can bear me witness. Now, we have not seen any genuine thing. At least he knows what students are facing right now. As I'm talking to you. Even the caterer that used to provide food. In those days, we used to go to the school, you see where they sell food, 100 naira, 150. But now, they bring contractors. But this is the responsibility of the government. If you check on all this money, we are just the list I saw. At least you can take all Nigerian universities up to 5 years or 10 years in future. But what do we do? Even our Chuku to a hub, no road. And we don't have water, drinking pipe water. We go to the stream and rivers to drink water. What do we do? Because when we say list, where is the money? The one they got, they should help us now, or never. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you very much for calling.
Sir, if you give me a few seconds to just say this.
Yeah.
Now, the federal government of Nigeria is just about 50% of government in Nigeria. I think we must also get that very clear. You have the states and you have the local government.
Non-existent.
Well, but they are funded and they have offices. But we say you have a puppet there. Now, if we pay the same attention we pay to the federal government, to the local government, and then to the state government, Nigeria will be much better than this.
Yeah.
So let us make the mistake that everything starts and stops
with the federal government.
But we are only taking this issue because it is an issue that is in the purview of the federal government. But all these other issues about the economy, about this and that, we cannot see. I think our expectations need to be moderated as Nigerians. Yes. Because even in the best of climes, I mean, some of us have gone to different parts of the world. People will still complain. Look, when I was growing up as a child, people were still complaining.
Last year Christmas was better than...
You understand? That will always be there. Okay. But we just need to continue to do what we're doing.
Okay, let's see if we can squeeze in Julius in the UK. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
I'm very happy for what good job you are doing.
Thank you.
Unfortunately enough for me, I lost interest in Nigeria a long time ago.
Oh, dear.
That's why I relocated to the United Kingdom.
Oh, dear.
To be honest with you,
Have you given up entirely?
He's still committed.
missing home.
I'm not giving up because I spent hours listening to Nigeria news
Okay.
because I'm still interested in that country.
Okay, that country. It's your beloved country now.
No, but the point I'm driving at, the way we are going about this corruption, it doesn't seem as if we are interested in fighting corruption. Listen, government released list of people that stole our commonwealth. We are saying the list is not holistic. We are saying the people in government, their names are not there. Is President Buhari going to stay in power forever? By the time he leaves power, other government will come. Whatever dirty thing they have done, the current government that time will also look at it. Listen, if we continue this way, we can never. We are just making people who are stealing this money to be more encouraged, to be more emboldened by giving them justification. It doesn't just make any sense. These people are stolen. Their names are listed. They are saying it's for political reasons.
So we should, thank you very much. So we should get cracking with that. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry, Ms. Julius in the UK, so sorry, but thank you very much for calling in. You're our last caller, and what you're saying, which dovetails into what Mr. George said earlier in the program, get cracking with what you have first. And the government is a continuum, to quote late sage of revered memory. We've completely run out of time now, but did you want to?
That's our starting point. They should start with this. They should make it comprehensive and it should be thorough.
Okay.
We want everybody that stole public money to return the money publicly.
So we go back to Lai's statement that it's a teaser now. It's a teaser. And then the sequels will come out and you get a fuller picture. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Dr. Jide Johnson, Deputy Provost, Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and Yemi Makwadero. Mr. Makwadero is a strategy and government expert. Okay, so that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.